Oh, hey there. It's been like 2 years. Whoops. I have now been in London for about 2.5 years, which means I am coming up on the joy of renewing my visa, which is bound to be extra fun given the worldwide pandemic. So, how's London going? London's been going all right. Like I said, it's been 2.5 years. We moved into this awesome new flat. I've gotten to work a few really cool jobs, met some incredible, great people through them, met people outside of work too. We got a little dog, and it's all been pretty great actually. Recent pandemic and lockdown excluded, of course. But we can do a catch up on some of the fun stuff later. Today I want to talk about one of the most frequently asked questions I see on every American expat, immigrant, group, community forum, what have you, almost every single day. That question is the simple, the basic, I want to move to London. How? So, how do you move to London? Before we start, I need to be a Debbie Downer. I need to bring up some absolutely critical things here. First, you cannot just pick up and move to the UK, which includes London. You can't. I know that pop culture has created this image of an American just jumping on a plane with their suitcase, setting off to London or Europe, and then living happily ever after. Simple as that. No, that's not how the world works, unfortunately. Immigration policy is a vital part of law and order for every country around the world. And every country has their own systems, rules, laws, politics, policies, procedures. If you want to move from America to the UK, you're going to have to play by the UK's immigration rules. There's no getting around that. It's UK immigration policy. You have to follow their rules. As you may know, as an American, to visit the UK, you don't necessarily have to go through the immigration process. Americans can just get on a flight, come to the UK border, and then be let in as a tourist for up to 6 months at the discretion of the immigration officer. That 6 months is never a guarantee. And you won't have gone through any visa paperwork or anything before showing up with your passport at the border. When you do this, you are coming into the UK as a tourist. That means you can do touristic things. You cannot work, you cannot study, you cannot even look for work. Even looking for work on this visa to remain in the UK would be a violation of the immigration rules. Also, if you enter the UK on this conditional tourist basis, you can't switch to another visa within the UK. So if you do decide to study at a university over here, or without looking, someone miraculously offers you a dream job and has the capability to sponsor you, you would still have to return to the US or the country you're currently legally resident in to apply for the appropriate visa. But okay, you don't want to be a tourist. You want to come live and work in London or the UK as an American. How do you get a visa? Disclaimer, I am obviously not an immigration attorney, lawyer, solicitor, whatever. I am just an immigrant who has gone through the immigration process and has a personal invested interest in following UK immigration law and their policies. Everything you need to know about the immigration process to emigrate to the UK can be found here. That's the government's official website. It should be your first and your final stop for anything related to immigration. When you Google how to move to the UK, this is the first hit for that reason. You should never trust a random person on the internet, anyone, over anything on this site. This is the law. While I can't overstate the importance of that website, the website has so much information that it can definitely be overwhelming at first. So today I'm going to go through the broad strokes. I'm going to do the book report of this website, the Spark Notes version, if you will. And we're talking broad strokes here. If you are looking at filling out an application for a visa, please go to this website and don't take anything I or any other random stranger on the internet says as the final word. That's my dog. There are several different types of visas that would allow you to live, to work, and or study in the UK as an American. I'm going to be going through the main ones. I will not be talking about a couple of the more rare, I guess, visas like the entrepreneur visa, mostly because it's very, very rare, and also because I don't know anything about it. So if you think you could somehow qualify for these super special visas, go check it out there. Can't I just get a job in London and move there? That's usually the first follow-up to the I want to move to London question. And unfortunately, I'm going to have to be a Debbie Downer again and say that it's not that easy. If you were to get a job in London or anywhere in the UK, you would need to get a Tier 2 work visa. Unless your vocation happens to be on the UK's job shortage list, which is an official published list, you can find it right here. It will include things like nurses, super specialized sciences, things like that. Most jobs do not go on the shortage list. The reason it is so hard to get a work visa is because if your job is not on the job shortage list, basically the company that wants to hire you would have to prove that no one in the UK or the EU could fill the role that they are offering you as a foreigner who would have to go through the visa process. Obviously, for most of us, we are not so unique that nobody in all of the EU and the UK couldn't do the same thing we do. It's also very costly for the company to have to do the market test to prove this, and sponsoring somebody is an investment, so a lot of companies don't even want to talk about doing it. Now, if you happen to have a career in one of the shortage fields, that's great because companies don't have to prove the same thing because there's a shortage available in the EU and UK, so they kind of bypass that. It's much easier. But again, rare to have that sort of situation, that sort of job. A kind of workaround for this visa is if you were working for an American company and then were transferred to that company's London or UK offices. That would put you on an intra-company transfer visa, which is similar to the work visa, however has quite a few drawbacks. One, it's usually for a finite amount of time, usually a couple years. It's designed for a lot of expats, really, who are going to be temporarily over here by themselves or with their families and then go back to the US. Two, any time you spend over here as an intra-company transfer doesn't count towards your permanent residency if you did happen to switch visas later to become a permanent resident in the UK. But if you want to come over and just live in London or somewhere else in the UK for a couple years and you have this ability, fantastic opportunity to take advantage of, in my opinion. Okay, no work. How about school? If you want to get a degree in the UK, you are in luck. The Tier 4 student visa is a pretty straightforward visa to get if you are coming here to study as an undergraduate or a graduate student in the UK. It's also the visa I came over on in 2010 to do my year abroad in Leeds because my program was longer than 6 months, so I had to get a proper student visa. For the Tier 4 student visa, basically you just have to have your university or program sponsor you. They have to be on the list of approved sponsors. That's not really an issue for any real university program. And you have to show adequate funds for maintenance while you're there. It's relatively not a high amount. Because this visa is designed for you to come to the UK to get your degree, there are a few drawbacks if you want to live here permanently. For one, it's going to cost a lot of money to get your degree here. You're going to have to pay tuition and student fees and living fees and all that fun stuff. While also, point two, only being able to work a maximum of 20 hours per week during term time. That's, even if you were to work 20 hours a week, that's not really enough to fully fund a lifestyle, which is why part of the requirement for the visa is to show adequate proof of maintenance. For the past few years, the student visa has also had the hindrance of not giving a clear path to residency after you graduate. Now, just this year, the UK government did announce plans to make it so that once you graduate with your degree, you're given kind of a buffer time to search for a job in the UK, and you will be exempt to the market test that I mentioned earlier with the Tier 2. So hiring you while you're still in the UK would be just like hiring another UK resident. So it should, in theory, make it easier for students who graduate with UK degrees to be able to live, work, and remain in the UK. Okay, so how are you living there? I emigrated to London on a family visa. Basically, my husband is British and we moved here together. I am the spouse of a British citizen. Most Americans I know in London are also on spouse visas, or they're here as parts of expat packages, so they didn't even have to think about the visa process because the companies handled it all for them. This family visa path is a path that I'm, for obvious reasons, most familiar with. It's also a very common route for Americans. Family visas basically cover 4 different types of people: dependent, fiancé, spouse, unmarried partner. Dependents are kids, they're minors who have a British citizen or British resident parent living in the UK. It's so that they can join them. A fiancé is a fiancé of a British citizen. The fiancé visa is the precursor to the spouse visa. It's a short-term visa that allows you to come to the UK for 6 months to marry here in the UK and then adjust your status to the spouse visa. It's called applying for further leave to remain. On the fiancé visa, you cannot work, you're not entitled to the NHS. It's basically kind of a holding pattern so that couples can be together and then get married here. Because of all these drawbacks, a lot of British and American couples decide to marry in the US and then apply directly for the spouse visa and then come over to the UK on that directly. It saves time, it saves money. It's just a workaround because British citizens can go to the US on ESTAs, marry, and then go home without any other immigration nonsense. Spouse. Like me. That's for spouses of British citizens, people who are already married. Us. Obviously, there's the whole part where you have to prove that you're in a legitimate marriage. That's really easy, assuming that you are legit and not committing the massive crime of immigration fraud. So don't worry too much. That's like marriage certificate, photos, communication. Really easy to prove that stuff. The hard part is the financial requirement. To bring a foreign spouse to the UK, there is a hefty financial burden on the British citizen, aka the sponsor, for this visa. As of right now, requirements change all the time. Always check this website. The main pathways to meeting the financial requirement are as follows. An annual salary in the UK of at least £18,600. If you have dependent children, that's non-British citizen children coming with you, that amount increases. Check here. You're going to have to prove that you've been earning this amount at this job for at least 6 months prior to the application date, and you're going to have to submit things like job contracts to show that this is a job that you expect to continue. 2, if you're not currently in the UK, you're moving back with your spouse, so say you're in America working, you need to prove that you have earned £18,600, the equivalent of that, for the last year in the US, and that you have a job offer to begin in the UK within 3 months of your anticipated arrival that earns at least £18,600 per year. That's a little bit more paperwork, and it's an option that a lot of people want to do to avoid separation. Option 3, cash savings. You need to show that you have cash savings of at least £62,500 that has remained at or above that amount, not a penny below that amount, for at least 6 months prior to your application date. This cannot be a loan. If it comes in the form of a gift, it has to be accompanied by a letter from the person who gifted it to you stating that they are not expecting any sort of repayment. If you're using the funds of a house sale, the 6-month requirement is waived. You can just apply immediately with the funds from your sale. Getting official bank statements, job contracts, all the paperwork for the financial requirements is the most mentally stressful part of the entire process. The Home Office is incredibly detail-oriented and has extremely specific requirements of how all this has to be presented, and it all has to be super official. This financial requirement is the reason why a lot of couples, a lot of families end up separated for months or years at a time, because it's quite a difficult thing to balance while you're going through this process. But the spouse visa is still probably the most common pathway to residency for American citizens. If you have a British spouse, one of you is gonna have to go through the immigration process, or you can do what we did and do each country because you just really like immigration paperwork, apparently. But the spouse visa has a lot of other benefits. It's one of the fastest routes to getting your permanent residency, your indefinite leave to remain, and it's a faster pathway to citizenship than a lot of other routes. A real quick drawback is that by the time you get through all of that and get your citizenship, you will probably have spent around £10,000 as the current fees, which will increase. If you're getting excited about the unmarried partner visa, thinking that you can just use that Tinder passport and find a digital partner, I am once again here to crush your hopes and dreams. The unmarried partner visa is basically the spouse visa, except it's for people who are not married but in a marriage-like relationship. To meet these requirements, all the spouse visa requirements, plus you have to show that you have been cohabitating with your partner for at least 2 years leading up to the application date. This visa is designed for same-sex couples living in countries where they legally can't be married, for people who have chosen not to be legally married for whatever reason, but essentially are married. It's not for boyfriend, girlfriends casually dating. That was a lot. So listen, I know that this video hasn't been all, go with the flow, it'll work itself out, dream big. And I don't intend to crush any hopes and dreams. It's just that the reality of emigrating to a different country is harsh. Immigration isn't fun and it isn't sexy when you're talking about all of the paperwork and all of the requirements to actually have a life in a country other than your own. It can be really frustrating, really challenging, and really, really expensive. And breaking immigration rules can lead to serious, serious things like deportations and bans, which can affect you getting visitors visas to countries in the future. We are super lucky in a lot of ways with our American passports and our American privilege, but when you are moving to another country, you are agreeing to play by their culture, their rules, especially when it comes to immigration. Sharing this information isn't designed to discourage you from fulfilling your dream of emigrating to the UK. If you want to move here, there are ways. Every visa option I mentioned is a viable option to someone to come and live your best life in London or Scotland or Wales or Northern Ireland or anywhere else in England. I just want to make sure that you understand the reality that if you want to make this move, you're going to have to probably work really hard to getting to the point where these visas apply to you, that you qualify for them. And you're going to have to make sure that you put in all the work it takes to move to a new country. If you are looking for more specific info or want to talk to somebody with more authority on the subject, there are a ton of immigration lawyers and solicitors, both in the UK and the US, that specialize in immigration to the UK. I personally didn't use one, so I'm not going to recommend anyone because that would be really disingenuous of me and pretty irresponsible, but you can find them through Google. I personally used a lot of forums and groups to kind of supplement the official government guidance, which you should all go to. I will link to some of my favorite groups in the video description. Again, these groups are just people who have gone through these processes who want to lend a helpful ear. They are most likely not immigration attorneys, but they're a great resource for at least emotional support if you're going to go through this process. I hope something in this video helped you out. I really don't mean to discourage anyone. I didn't mean to bring you down too much. I promise future videos will be much more fun and lighthearted. I'll make sure to do a super light, fluffy video next week to bring the mood back up. In the meantime, if you have any questions about my personal immigration journey, how it's going so far, or any general questions about what it's been like moving to London, ask them in the comments. And remember to stay safe. I'll see y'all next week.